Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere, bringing you all the latest news in regards to North Carolina athletics. Of course, last weekend or Saturday, because it only happened 2 days ago, the Tar Heels defeated Richmond 41-6. It was arguably its most complete game of the season. You could really argue for that, although the offensive yards didn't really show it. Oftentimes, North Carolina had short field position because they were able to, get turnovers, and also, you also had the fake punt that failed for Richmond. You also had the 22-yard punt return from Will Hardy in the second quarter that led to another touchdown. So, yes, North Carolina only had 312 yards of offense, but you know how much of that was because North Carolina got in great field position 5 times throughout the game. By great field position, I mean on Richmond's side of the field. So, yeah, once again, how much did that play a factor? And also, of course, North Carolina's defense was outstanding. Um, of course, they allowed under 200 yards of offense. It was the second straight game that they did not allow a single touchdown. That's the first time that has happened in 13 years. Forced 3 turnovers, one of which was a scoop and score. Went 62 yards, if I remember correctly, from Makai Bayor. So great overall day for UNC. And also, you got to mention Demond June, 148 yards and a touchdown, averaged 10.6 yards per carry. Just a phenomenal day for him, for the true freshman from Jacksonville, North Carolina. But we're not here to talk about the game. I just want to give a short recap. And the reason why I mentioned last week's game is because there has been a lot of talk about North Carolina and where they stand, right? And that question has not been answered yet. And I didn't expect it to be answered, right? The reason why I say this is because the true benchmark is UCF, because UCF was expected to improve. They have a new coaching staff. They still have a lot of really good players from the team the year before, and they brought in some key transfers. And they're top 25 in offense, and I believe they're in the top 30 on defense. So it's a very, very good team, and it's going to be on the road. So really, it's a true test to see how good this UNC team really is, as that will be the last non-conference game before you get into ACC play, because you have a bye week, and then ACC play begins when the Tar Heels take on Clemson on October 4th. And if you really think about it, I know a lot of people were down on North Carolina because the offensive struggles, the TCU game also didn't help as well. But the thing about North Carolina is that if you really think about it, it could be so much worse. The reason why I say that, look at Clemson. Clemson was the preseason ACC title favorite. They were picked by the ACC media to win the conference title. And Clemson had 167 first place votes. The second place team, which is Miami, only had 7. So, they were the heavy favorites by many to win the Atlantic Coast Conference title. They're also a national title contender. At the beginning of the year, they were the number 4 team in the country. Cade Klubnik was seen as a Heisman favorite. You had a loaded receiving core and an awesome, awesome defense. Now they're in shambles. How is the preseason ACC title favorite, a national title contender before the year, and on top of that, an extremely talented roster, in shambles? Well, they're 1-2. Their 2 losses were against LSU, the opening game, and against Georgia Tech on Saturday. Georgia Tech beat them on a walk-up field goal. And their one win they had was against Troy. But against Troy, they were down 16-3 at the half. That's really a game they should have won. Cade Klubnik so far, He hasn't even completed 60% of his passes, 59.1% with 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He has not been very good. As a matter of fact, if you want to know how much hype Clemson had, this was my ultimate ACC guide, and that's what I did before the year, kind of previewing the football season for the ACC. And Clemson, I had Clemson as the top dog. I had Clemson winning the conference, and I had Cade Klubnik being the best player in the conference and the ACC. You know what I was right about? Georgia Tech. I was right about that. I feel proud. And not only that, I also had Cade Klubnik as my number one quarterback. Blam. At all. So, yeah, it's just my prediction. I mean, look, a lot of people predict, so I don't feel as bad because a lot of people predicted Clemson to be the title's favorites. A lot of people did. But you know who's even worse than Clemson? Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is 0-3 right now. It is the first time since 1987 that the Hokies are 0-3. To put that in perspective, and sorry, mom and dad, I know I'm making you sound old, but my dad was a freshman in college and my mom was a sophomore. That's how long ago it was when the last time Virginia Tech went 0-3. Virginia Tech, by the way, has allowed 490 yards of offense against Vanderbilt in a 44-20 loss at home. Then they proceeded to get blown out by Old Dominion 45-26. Yes, because it was 45-26. And yes, it is a blowout. But it was even worse because Old Dominion was up 38-7 going to the fourth quarter of the game. Old Dominion, by the way, outgained Virginia Tech 527-433. But Virginia Tech's defense, which, by the way, is Brent Pry's specialty because Brent Pry is a defensive guy, they allowed over 500 yards against Old Dominion. Not very good. Not very good at all. And that's why he got fired yesterday. Because he hasn't lived up to the hype. And not only that, I also forgot to mention this too, the first game they lost against was South Carolina. Guess who's the head coach of South Carolina? Shane Beamer. And guess who Shane Beamer's dad is? Frank Beamer, the legendary coach of Virginia Tech. Not looking very good, man. Not looking very good in Blacksburg. And I don't think they can get Shane Beamer to come back to Blacksburg because he is getting paid handsomely by South Carolina. Next, I'm going to look at is Duke. Duke hasn't really gone up to a hot start either. And matter of fact, Duke was also another team that was seen as a dark horse. Now, Darian Mensah has been awesome. Darian Mensah is really the only bright spot for this team. He's third in the country with 1,036 yards, and he's also thrown for 8 touchdowns with only 2 interceptions. He's been playing good. The problem is Duke's defense has been and a lot of people thought they were going to improve this year because you brought back guys like Chandler Rivers in your secondary. You're coming off a 9-4 season. You brought back 13 returning starters. Like I said, you added Darian Mensah, which was an upgrade over Malik Murphy. You were picked to finish 6th in the ACC. And then but you started the season 1-2. After you win against Elon, you got throttled by Illinois 45-19. And then you proceeded to lose against Tulane 34-27. Yes, Tulane is a strong Group of 5 school. They are. But you shouldn't have lost against them considering the amount of money you've invested in the football program as of late with NIL and all that type of stuff. And not only that, You've been disappointing. I mean, I just read off their resume from last year. You're supposed to be better. Point blank, period. And also the score for the Tulane game, 34 to 20. It was a 34 to 27 result, but at one point, Tulane was up by like 3 or 4 touchdowns. So, not a very good look for Duke. Oh, and on top of that, you have to go play. You're playing NC State this week, who is 3-0, and they are looking really good too. A lot better than people expected them to be because Dave Doran's on the hot seat. So once again, for North Carolina, it could be much, much worse. Much, 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 much worse for the Tar Heels. But luckily, you need to get that wake-up call. You need to get humbled going the season. And that's exactly what happened against CCU. And now that you're humbled, I think it's brought out different energy in this team. We've seen the strides they make defensively. Still waiting on the strides on the offensive side of the ball, but at least we know the running game is returning. Very, 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 very. I don't know. I keep saying very, but this is a very, very, very important thing you got to think about. You still have another week. You got to play UCF, and that will determine whether or not you should be sulking or not, depending on how they play. They could lose. I think they're going to lose, but I'd rather them lose in competitive fashion than whatever that was against CCU. So, yeah, I mean, it could be, once again, it could be much, much, much worse. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to check out our website, si.com/UNC si.com/college/UNC, and all of our content should be up there. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Chachere Grant. Also, do the same thing for North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. Just look up Tar Heels on SI. And then same thing for Facebook. Make sure to go follow the page on our Facebook page. We'll also upload content there as well. And thank you so much once again, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Grant Chachere, the beat writer for the North Carolina Tar Heels on SI site. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Once again, it can be much, much worse for your Tar Heels. Remember that.